Hello Aquarius friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Aquarius August 2020 Astrology Must Knows. We are finally free and clear from Venus Retrograde, Venus, which rules love, beauty, money, design projects. Finally free from the post-retrograde energies, and now what does that mean? That means there's open energy plus momentum from Mars being in Aries to make those big decisions about your relationships, to put into practice the things that you decided from all of your research and all of the things that came up during the Venus retrograde. Any design projects, getting your hair done, doing your crazy new wardrobe things, all of those things have green light at this time. And Mercury retrograde energy is also clear, so making plans, trying to get some things out before this impending Mars retrograde gets too deep. If you're watching this early, I still love July 22nd through July 28th as my favorite launching point because it is the most clear of the retrograde energies, and we haven't kind of gotten into the interesting portfolio that is August, which we will get into. But if you are watching this in August, you may still have some time to push some things through, but just know that Mars rules. Mars retrograde is coming next, and as of the time that the Mercury and Venus retrogrades wore off, the Mars retrograde starts. The reason this happens is because, and you'll see a nice visual of this in my new book, Planetology, is the orbits of the planets fit inside of each other. And actually there's a connection with them having to do with the Fibonacci sequence. There's sacred geometry in the motions of the stars. And so as something is finishing up, something else flows, and then there's always this rhythm that is predictable. Okay, so Mars rules your drive, your momentum, your oomph, your sexual forces, your energy for getting things done, your ambitions, your anger and frustration, and your inspiration. So all of those things are going to be tested in a million different ways over the upcoming 6 or so months. And let's see, August, September, October, November, December into January is when the Mars post-shadow period ends. So we're talking about a very long transit here where topics that involve all of those pieces are going to be called into question. But now here in August, you still have some more time before the retrograde deepens, before we're in the actual retrograde. So if you have to get some things done before, you might get lazy, as is typical with Mars retrograde, or roadblocks could just frustrate you out of doing anything, then you might have some launching points here. But there are some things to be aware of. We are in, okay, so here are some must-knows as you're moving forward and making your decisions, okay? We're in a post-eclipse environment. Not only are we past those Venus and Mercury retrogrades, we are in this time where the eclipses, the 3 eclipses we went through in June and July, have happened already. But that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be news or events that come still from those eclipses. Some people won't actually get their big boom news until August. And for those of you who have already had a great indication of what's coming, some things could start finalizing out in this month. For many people though, August will be a time of finding a new normal, finding whatever your new normal is, our new normal in the world after all of the crazy things that have gone on globally and at the community levels. So we're looking for a new normal. And we're kind of establishing into what the new life is going to look like from the changes that have happened already from the eclipse related things and the boom with those Capricorn planets. Okay, so we're walking tenuously and we're starting to see what the post eclipse and post other transits we've been through, what that life is going to look like, and it's going to start taking shape more and more. This month we have more than twice the challenging aspects compared to the sweet ones, okay? So this doesn't mean, I have a lot of people who want to be super simplistic about this and say, Annie, is it going to be a good month or a bad month? And I always try to reframe that and encourage you to ask different questions. The questions I want to help you ask are, what is the nature of the energies that are going on, and how can I best use those? First of all, to be prepared for what's coming. Second of all, to use the energies in the best ways so that I can have the best possible outcomes with whatever role I have and choices that I can make within the spectrum of what's occurring. Okay, so it's within those types of questions, that set of parameters, that I'm trying to guide you. So although there are many more challenging aspects, the challenging aspects often are what give us the crack into the things that we need to do. Okay, they show us drive, they show us force, pressure, and this month in particular is going to be a ton of awkwardness. Okay, there's an angle that we're going to have a lot of. It's a 150-degree angle, and that brings awkwardness. It's like the energy of a baby giraffe who's just been born and their legs are long and gangly and they're trying to walk, okay? And they're finding their footing, okay? So just know, a must know for this month is that you're going to be finding your footing in this world after all of the changes, okay? There are two extra challenging dates to note, and we'll look at these closer when we drill into the charts. But I want you to be aware of them now and mark them down. August 13th and the days around that day, and August 24th and the days around that day. These are particularly actually nasty transits. Now, if you've been watching my work for a while, you know that I'm an optimist. I like to reframe things to help us feel empowered and to work with what's happening and to bring good outcomes despite whatever's occurring. And at the same time, there are some things that are just straight up nasty. And these are two of those energies. They have to do with Mars and Pluto, the ruler of birth, death, transformation, rebirth, and then Mars and Saturn. Okay, and we've been seeing the thumbprints of Pluto and Saturn in a huge way because they have been connecting with each other this year, which is a very rare thing. So now Mars, the god of war, comes and joins these energies. So what that means is that for everybody, and this is all signs, you are going to see frustrations and angers of things that have been under the surface coming to a head. And the more this happens, depending on what choice each person makes with that energy, it can be quite combustive and actually dangerous. So if you are in a dangerous situation, it would be good to get out of it before this time. And if, just really use your intuition, kind of like that gut feeling that you have for a certain timeline or for something to trust your flow. Now, at the same time, we don't have to walk with fear with this. We just have to walk with awareness. Okay. So if you know that people who are already angry and frustrated are going to be more so, and resentful, are going to become more so, yourself included, you'll want to position yourself away from those situations as much as possible in this period of time, really the whole month of August, but especially those hot spots around the 13th and the 24th. Okay. Now for yourself, finding outlets that are productive for this angst is going to be very imperative. Okay. So exercise, meditation, EFT tapping, writing, or I always like to advise people to have a discussion about something that's charging them with somebody who is a neutral person before they have the conversation with the person who they're charged about. Because the more you can get that charge worked out before you actually engage, the more there's a chance for it to not go badly and for it to go as well as possible. And that's going to be even more crucial at this point because flagrant use of opinions or observations or speaking and not thinking can erupt in really negative ways at this time. Okay, so I do often have people say, when I talk about some transits that are more difficult, maybe I'll just go hide under a rock for this month. And you probably can't hide under a rock for the whole month, but if you can hide under a rock for those dates, as long as you don't hit your head on the rock, because Aries rules the head, Mars rules the head, you just want to, really lay low at this time if you can help it and have extra caution, follow your intuition, and work on your issues. Don't antagonize people who are on edge, and just keep yourself safe that way. Pay really attention while you're walking, things like that. Now, the flip side to this is that there are two super sweet aspects this month. And even though there aren't a ton of sweet aspects this month, there are two that are kind of close to each other, and they're after both of those other kind of yucky ones. And these are on the 27th and the 29th. And again, we'll drill into more of this when we look at the charts. But these aspects can bring solutions, can bring transformation from the things that bubbled up. And so I'm hoping that the more of us that can vent our frustrations and heal our frustrations and anger and resentment in ways that are productive, the more we're going to see positive effects in the transformation in our lives, okay? Okay, so then we've got a lot of Leo energies, and for Aquarius placements, these are going to be in opposition to your placement. So these are going to be overstimulating. They're going to make you feel like you're pulled in two different directions, and that's most of the month. And then towards the end of the month, we've got these Virgo energies that can help to calm everything down, to ground everything out, to give you the rest or focus that you may need, and can also really help you to find people that can help you, because the Virgo energies are going to predominate in your 7th house, which is your house of relationships. So you'll see this focus on relationship space really start to take root over the course of the month, and really develop into hopefully a situation where the people that you need to find help from, you'll find them. The people you need to address issues with, you'll be working on that. And then hopefully you can even pull out some good times from all of the mischief. Okay, so let's look at all of this a little closer. Many of the things I talk about are going to be true for early, middle, and late degree Aquarius placements. But there are going to be times that I segment out or give different information depending on where you are in the Aquarius spectrum. So we want to know where you are. Early degree Aquarius, basically January born or 0 to 9 degrees. Now always remember, my reports are for you. If your sun is in Aquarius, if your moon is in Aquarius, if your rising is Aquarius, these reports work for you because they show you a dimension of your astrological truths in this period of time. So if you're watching for your rising sign, the early born would basically be 0 to 9 degrees. The middle degree Aquarius, February 1st through 10th for the birthdays, or 10 to 19 degrees, and late degree around February 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. Also a note for you late degree placements. I do always speak to things for you, and when there are things that are different for you, I always point them out. But if you want additional information that's more layers of what the late profile looks like, you can watch the early Pisces. If you watch my Pisces, this is just for the late degree, watch my Pisces horoscope and listen when I talk about early Pisces, because those of you, especially the very late degree people, your chart will look a lot like that early degree Pisces chart. So you might be able to pick up some additional pieces, some things you'll hear me talk about here, and there may be some additional layers for you there, okay? So we're not going to forget our late degree people who often get forgotten by everybody. I have late degree placements in my moon and sun. That's why I don't forget you guys. Okay, so let's look at what the heck is going on here. All right, so we're going to use this early degree chart, but everything I'm talking about is going to be true for all placements. So it doesn't matter which chart we're using. It's for all of you unless I otherwise differentiate out, okay? So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the movement of the planets into Leo. All right, so you see, as the planets into Leo oppose yours, this is that 180 degree. This is kind of like the energy of, I always call it being drawn and quartered in the square, which is just not really a super positive imagery. But when you're going through this type of experience, you feel that. You feel like your arms are being pulled one way, your legs are being pulled the other way, and you're just like trying to, to work that out. And that's what happens at this time of year every time the planets get into Leo for you. That feature of the 7th house starting to be accentuated will start right from the beginning of the month, because the energies are pushing into the 7th house. Okay, so now the 7th house is the house of relationships. So spotlight on your relationships for better and worse. Okay, you can see for the middle degree placements, the sun isn't quite there right at the beginning of the month. And for the middle or the late degree placements, the sun is dropped all the way back here. So what that means is that this sun will highlight the 7th house for everyone. It's just going to be staggered. And those of you who are in the later spectrum, the later you are in the sign, it's going to take more weeks for this 7th house focus to really come into view. But it will happen. And it will be a theme that will continue for a while as the planets start to crowd this Leo-Virgo area. These are the two partnership energies. So something really important to know about Mars retrograde. Okay, many people, especially Aquarius placement, since this energy of relationship and me and we is coming up really strong for you. And part of that is also coming from, Saturn being on this cusp here and getting closer to your 1st house cusp. It's like splitting this energy, this division between you and other people. And so when this happens, it's like it's awakening issues that were there. The Venus retrograde would have brought up issues in your romantic or business relationships, the Mercury retrograde. And now that we're here in the beginning of August, you might be inclined to take some action about the things that happened or that you discovered. If you're trying to file for divorce, or if it comes to that, be very aware that being a plaintiff in a court case in Mars retrograde often flies back on the person who does the suing, okay, or the filing. So there's this magic window kind of towards the end of July of filing things like that, where you're filing a criminal case or you're filing something against somebody. The energy starts to get a little dicey for that the more we get into August and into the Mars retrograde, because Mars energy rules force. And in Mars retrograde, it's requiring us to question our use of force. Sometimes we find a voice where we didn't have one, and that's part of what the transit's about. But then sometimes when people who have been kept down in a situation, whether it's in their relationships, whether it's with their parents, whether it's in a community, whether it's in the world, whatever the situation is where somebody has been kept down or feels like they've been kept down, when the anger starts to bubble up, it can be very scary and can come out in ways that are not productive. And sometimes, especially with the Mars retrograde energy, that force that comes out, that sort of finding the voice, but finding the voice forcefully, is more likely to boomerang back. Okay, so you want to protect yourself from this. And the thing we talked about earlier of finding like these safe, productive ways to get your anger out, you're going to keep hearing me say this over today and these next months, because it is so important for you to work out your anger in ways that will make the outcomes that you want come and won't come back on you, okay? So just think and feel really carefully into filing a suit against somebody in the Mars retrograde energies, especially as they get deeper, okay? So that's the first thing, and especially here with this Aquarius energy because of this opposition. It's like you're being divided and pulled. Now, the plus side to this is sometimes pressure in situations cause people to unite and to get work together. So you might find like maybe you and your spouse are going through some financial problems, and maybe that those financial issues were dividing you. But these type of energies have the possibility where you can get stronger because you get together and you conquer the problems together instead of suffering from them individually and letting it divide you. Okay, so just kind of keep this unity consciousness in the forefront of your being as we maneuver through the rest of the year and beyond, because that's part of the lesson here. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is Mars. Right, so Mars is going to be moving into this 3rd house for early degree placements. That's going to happen for middle, but it has a little bit more time in the 2nd. And for late degree placements, you still have a predominance of Mars energy, and that will be for a while. Even for this whole Mars transit is going to focus for you in the 2nd house. So middle and late degree placements, there's really more of a story of your money and your self-sufficiency and how you use your energy to make money and how you use your energy to spend money, and where the weaknesses are in your financial picture, and also in your self-esteem on those topics. Okay, so for the early and middle, there's this energy of Mars in the third house. And the third house has to do with communication. Okay, so it's going to be a very, very, very communication focused time. And again, like for everybody, because of the nature of the transit, like I've been explaining. But early and middle degree placements, Mars is actually in your house of communication. So forceful communications coming to you, forceful communications coming from you, finding your voice, finding the balance of your voice versus aggression. This idea of the victim and tyrant is going to come up in a lot of ways, and trying to rectify that, again, with this unity consciousness is the best way that I can describe it, where we prevail and rise together rather than moving further apart to further divisiveness. All right, so this is of critical importance, because see, these squares are going to happen this month with Mars and Pluto and Mars and Saturn. Those are those nasty days, the 13th and the 24th, that I told you to be careful of. So Mars is going to be over here in the third house for the early and some middle degree placements by the time it makes that conflict. Relatives that are not your parents or children are very specifically highlighted here, especially early and middle degree placements, and also driving and walking and moving your body in any other way, especially around those days. Y'all need to be extra careful, pay extra attention, try not to have distractions. All right, and that boom, that extra boom of those transits leans towards the money sector on those days for the late degree placements, and also for the middle degree placements, because you guys are kind of split there. All right, so you can see that there's a strong energy here in the sixth house. That's early, that's middle, that's late. All right, so sixth house topics are going to be very front and center as well. And this has to do with health, health topics. And this is a really great month for diagnostics, specifically, blood tests and things like that. If you have to do diagnostics that involve metal, like machines, CAT scans, MRIs, ultrasounds, things like that, if you have to get them whenever you have to, okay? But if you have a choice in it, the earlier part of the month may have more clarity with those. And the same thing for surgeries. If you have to do an elective surgery, I still like July 22nd through the 28th the best, because that's when the energy is most clear in this kind of period of time. But you'll have to kind of intuit and like tiptoe around some of these dicey transits. But from the Mars retrograde perspective, because Mars rules metal, and all of surgeries are done with metal pretty much. So elective surgeries aren't as well indicated unless they have a medical need involved, where you have to prevent or protect yourself from something worsening. Just kind of follow with that. But again, like the earlier part of the month is more free from those energies if you need something for that sixth house. But this could be a fantastic time to change your diet, to manage your stress, to get systems in place where your workload is lightened, or how you deal with your workload is lightened. And this could also have to do with pets. This could be an amazing time to get a pet. The one thing to watch out for is that you match the energy level and the maintenance level of the pet for something that you can do long term. Because as Mars goes into retrograde, you might get more lazy and less motivated. So if you get this like border collie puppy in August and you're like, yeah, I can do all this, and believe me, I've raised border collies for a long time. People do not know what they're getting themselves into when they get like an Australian Shepherd or a Jack Russell or like these high energy dogs as puppies. They have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And many people make it work, like I have. But I'm putting this out there for you to really think about this, because if you're on the edge of like, maybe I shouldn't get as high maintenance a situation, you may really want to think about that. Now the energy is more clear for that for the end of July, but as we go deeper into August, you may get more lazy, or you may have other things that block your physical momentum And that may or may not match depending on the type of animal you're getting. Okay, so just match it really well and have somebody help you if you need help with that, getting the perfect pets. Okay, so you can also see, let's look at something else going on here. And this is really important, especially for, let's see, look at the early degree placements. Look at that full 12th house. Middle, you guys have it too. Late degree placements, it doesn't look like you have a full one, right? But for the points that we're going to make here, it is relevant for you, okay? And that's actually what we're speaking to right now the most, because it's the conflict between these placements, okay? We spoke about what goes on at this end of it, the second and third house. Now we have to talk about what goes on at this end of it. And for all of the placements, this is going to affect the 12th house, which is your mental house, which is the area of your mental stability and your belief systems and your karmic profile, your ancestral blessings and garbage, your anything that comes in genetically or through the Akashic records. All of that is in this 12th house. So when these things bump here with Mars, disturbances to your mindset, to your emotions, can bring up a lot of fear. Okay, so if you find in August that you're more afraid, or that topics that you're afraid of are coming up, this is purposeful. The universe is doing this purposely. And that goes back to the foundation of what we talked about earlier, which is finding an outlet to get it out. It can't be repressed anymore. Okay, that's what the theme of the aspects that have been occurring with the Capricorn placements that have been involved with the coronavirus and have been involved with all of the different types of things that we're going through in the world. Things that have been repressed are coming to the surface. And sometimes when that happens, there's a lot of extreme energy as that's hashing out. And now we have a chance to, especially here Aquarius placements, to overcome the fear. Okay, just whatever the fear is. And that can be just fear of something in your personal relationship. That can be fear of what's happening in the world. It doesn't matter. But if you have fear come up, don't be surprised, and just know that these energies will pass. And if you can do something productive with it, then you can be better off for having done the work. Okay? All right, so now let's talk about some nice things. Okay? Even though those things can turn into nice things, they're definitely more labor intensive on what you've got to work with. So I wanted to talk about this Venus Neptune thing that's going to go on. And then we have, where's our little friend here? A Mercury and Jupiter thing that's going to happen. Okay, Mercury is going to race along here. And once we get here to the 27th and 29th of the month, Mercury is going to have run all the way over here and is going to be in a nice kissy-kissy with Jupiter. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's look at that. We'll get back to this guy. Just want to show you more clearly where this is going to show up for each of you. So this is going to be around 20. Okay, so this is going to be more like there. Something that I really like that can be super positive about this month, and you know that, like I always say, if there's a crap storm coming, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is coming. It is here. We're in the midst of it. It's been going on. The eclipses, the boom, everything this whole year, we're in it, right? And August is no exception. There's more. There's more to it coming. But there are also blessings, and there are also ways to reframe the challenges that are coming, okay? So I love that these sweet aspects are close together and that they're after the main mischief of the month, okay? Because that tells us this potential of the stuff to come to the surface, to be ugly, to not go well, and then to get the gold, okay? So I'm hoping that these are the days, these are the times where after the bubbling up, I mean, it always really reminds me of like a child. Children don't have words for their emotions, and most of us aren't really taught how to deal with our big feelings. That's why we act up as adults or don't communicate in ways that serve what we're trying to do, because we were either quieted or hit, like beaten for being emotional, or ignored, or, you know, or various other things. So, but when a kid is like yelling, and it's like, stress, and then like shortly afterwards they're playing and they're giggling and they're like, that feels better. And okay, yay. So this is kind of the part where the kid has been yelling and stressed, and now they're like giggling with all of this joy that like makes up for all of the mischief that just happened. And so this is going to highlight again this, so for early degree placements, this is going to be 12th and 8th houses. Yeah, that's going to be 12th and 8th, a little bit of 7th for middle, and 12th and 7th. Okay, so the Mercury energy is going to drop back into the 7th house for some of the middle and all of the late degree placements. But what is the same here is that the 7th and 8th houses are relationships, okay? So what we can say for all Aquarius placements is those fears that you had, those things you were bumping up against, those patterns, those whatever, you know, came up from this mischief that we talked about here. Now, this energy, Jupiter, lighting up Mercury is like good news, good solutions, breakthroughs. And these are in earth signs, okay? So earth signs are not just like this water energy, which we'll talk about, which is always nice, but, well, I know that looks like it's in Gemini, but it will be in water by the time it makes the connection. But anyway, you know, the watery things are on the emotional level, but the earth things are on the material level. So positive material outcomes on those times. And if you have to do something, depending on the nature of what it is, definitely look for any Botticelli Mars retrograde, and you'll see my video and my extensive blog on this subject. So you understand the kinds of things that you want to do earlier before the retrograde really sets in, you know, but there are going to be other things you may have to do. And this might be a good time for something like that. Like if you want to take a romantic weekend, or you want to, you know, schedule some time for sweetness, this might be a good time. Okay, so now let's look at this Venus storyline. And like I said, by the time Venus makes this pretty aspect, it will be over here in the water sign. That will make the trine, which is really nice. And trines are the most harmonious aspects in all of astrology. Venus rules love, beauty, money. Venus rolls into, okay, so we've got, for the early degree placements, we've got a money house and a work house for the sweet yummies, okay? Then for middle degree placements, it's the same. All right, so money and work. I guess I need to erase some of this. We can see what the heck's going on here. Okay. And then for those of you who are in the late degree placements, you might have some money work things come up, but there's more of a chance where this is going to be in the 5th and 1st house, okay? So this has to do with sweetness in romance, true love, children, creativity, hobbies, talents, and being noticed for them. You know, being recognized for them. And we all know many people, I'm sure, that are famous but not rich, right? Fame doesn't always go with money. So those energies can be kind of separate. So we'll put like the 1st house here would be recognition. The 2nd house here is the money part of it, you know? So sometimes people can make money and not have the recognition energy. So there's just a little shift here. There are quite a few aspects with Venus this month, and that is bringing the energy of home and family into the forefront for everybody. And of course, home and family can encompass children energy, but for you late degree placements, this little sweet spot can bubble up here. And that could have to do with dating, and that could have to do with your current relationship or something like that, a self-esteem boost in some way. Okay, so overall, we've got a lot of intensity that we did have, we're going to be free of this month. It's like we're coming out of the cloak of Venus retrograde and the eclipses in a big way, establishing the new normal. And then we've got Mars energies rolling in, going to be testing how we do things, testing how we use our energy, testing the topics of power and control, and, you know, in every different capacity. And of course, these areas that were highlighted. If you want to have more information about this month, you can see my written horoscopes, which are much more simple than what I do for the videos. I get pretty in depth in the videos, but I have very simple, easy to follow written horoscopes at cozybysweetstarlight.com. And all of the links I've mentioned, including my Mars Retro resources, are all in the notes underneath the video. So if you click underneath the video, you'll see all the Mars retrograde stuff. You'll see my video about the astrology of the coronavirus and all the other things going on. And you'll see cozybysweetstarlight.com. That's my website where I write horoscopes and blogs for healthy living. Okay, and then at anniehelpsyou.com, you can sign up for my free email newsletter. And when you do, you will receive my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free. That's a gift I give to my email community. And this would be a really great time to do that because it can give you another tool to use to clear this anger and frustration, because what comes from the other side of clearing anger and resentment and frustration is freedom and peace and forgiveness, and that is what we are trying to do. That's where we want to get to, and you'll have lots of opportunities this month to do that. If you would like to have some free courses, you can check out my school. I've got at least 3 free courses at my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. You can also see my paid courses, including Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course. If you'd like to do astrology and you resonate with how I teach and you want to learn, you can see that very crazy comprehensive course at lumelife.com. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.